There you go. As always, Buy or Sell is brought to you by Jock Market. You can check them out at jockmkt.com or on your app store. The promo code DFO20 gets you a $20 deposit bonus. One guy he just had an incredible year, but he was always undervalued on the market. Alex DeBrincat, and even up to one of the final games of the season when they took on the Dallas Stars, his stock opened at 627 and it closed at 1786. So there's money to be made on Jock Market, and they are getting close to launching in Canada as well. We're going to have John Scott on in just a few minutes here, so let's get into the fighting mood. I was looking at hockeyfights.com the other night. They had 3 fights last year in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, these teams have been playing each other a lot throughout the season, and I think there's already going to be a lot of built-in hatred. I say double that. 6 fights in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs this season. Frank, you buying or selling?
Selling. I know there was a fight to open the playoff bubble. I know these teams have played each other a lot. It just doesn't traditionally happen. And I think with some of the thoroughbreds that are these teams that are in the playoffs, I just don't see a lot of heavyweights.
Oh, I agree. There's not a lot of heavyweights, but I'm buying. I think there's a lot of anger from a lot of guys who aren't necessarily regular fighters. And I think you're going to see guys trying to send messages, because starting on Saturday, you're either playing game 9, game 10, or game 11 against your opposition. Game 11, of course, being Toronto and Montreal. So I think I'm going to go over. I'm going to buy that for sure. I think we're going to see a few Tillies in the first round.
Another over-under one. I think these series are all going to be really tight as well. You guys were talking about how many 4 seeds could, maybe make a push. I'm going to say over, and I was looking at what the sports books have, and this is the line they've set. 10.5 overtime games in round 1. I'm going to say more than that. I think these games will be really tight. Jason, you buying or selling?
I'm going to sell. I think there'll be a lot of 1-goal games. But 10.5 overtime games, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of OT. So I'm going to go under, and I will sell.
I'm going to go over. Why not? The typical number of overtime games in a playoff calendar year is 22. 22 out of 90 is roughly what they play. So yeah, I don't know. I think given all of that, how tight this is, I'm going to take the over.
Yes, we're talking about how, Nashville could push Carolina potentially, and it seems like a lot of these series are going to be really tight. Do you think we could see more than 3.5 game 7s in round 1? Over 3.5 game 7s. Frank, you buying or selling? You kind of got to do the math and go through each series and go, okay, that one has
under.
a chance, that one has a chance.
I'm selling.
Under?
Yeah, I'm selling. I think a bunch of these series are going to be wrapped up quick. I think Toronto takes care of Montreal in short order. I think the Oilers take care of the Jets in short order. I could see both in the East going 7. So that's maybe 2 right there. I think the West are pretty clear cut to me, and in the Central as well. I don't, I could see maybe 3, but I can't see over 3.
Yeah, I'm going to sell as well. 3 is the number, because I think the East is set up, and I think that Florida-Tampa series is
that's the only other one I had. Yeah.
Yeah. My wild card is Nashville. I think Nashville I wouldn't be stunned if they push Carolina. They have played, and Frank talked about it earlier. UC Saros, man, goaltenders can screw with your head a little bit for opposing players early on when a guy's just robbing you over and over and over. And the other thing, the Preds got it cleared. They're going to have almost 13,000 fans in Smashville for the playoffs. I think that's going to be a huge home ice advantage for the Predators. I think that's just I think it's going to help every team, home or away, to have fans in. But I think in Nashville, that might be what squeezes them to 7. But I'll still take sell. But I think Nashville, if I'm picking one surprise series to go 7, I'll pick that one.
Looking at the West, I know you guys touched on them a little bit. It's Colorado taking on St. Louis. It's Vegas taking on Minnesota. Forget 7 games. I'm going to say neither of those series even make it to 6 games. Jason, you buying or selling?
Yeah, I'll buy. Frank outlined some really good numbers on Vegas in regards to when they lose and they're short-staffed. Well, they're not short-staffed. And, Minnesota, it's been a great run. They're a young team. And I just Minnesota is the one team in the NHL that was bottom in the league. They're second they were 30th in hits, and they were 28th in possession numbers. I just don't think that's a recipe for success. I think Vegas is just going to be physically dominant over Minnesota. So I will take Vegas for sure under, and Colorado, I think is just going to skate all around them. So I think both of those are 4 or 5.
Yeah, I agree. I do think there's a chance though, that aside from Florida, Tampa, that Vegas, Minnesota is our most fun series to watch.
Okay.
Interesting. Nathan MacKinnon, I want to talk a little bit about him here. I feel like Connor McDavid almost skewed what we consider a really impressive end of the season with what he did, but MacKinnon had points in 17 of his last 20. 11 of them were multi-point games as well. I'm going to say Nate Mack goes off and is the NHL scoring leader after round 1 of the playoffs. Buying or selling? And if you're selling, you got to tell me who you think it'll be.
I'll sell only because I don't think he's going to get enough games. I think they might win in 5, but you know, it's really hard at this point. Connor McDavid had 20 some points against the Jets this year in the regular season. He is absolutely on fire. So I will go with probably what's the low hanging fruit, the easy choice, and say it's McDavid, but he's on a run now, guys, like that we haven't seen in decades, and he's not slowing down. So plus the Jets have been a horrible matchup. They give up tons of quality chances. So unless Winnipeg and Paul Maurice in a week can game plan to lock things down, I think McDavid's going to go off. Because keep in mind, I still believe like last year's bubble's a little bit different because it was so unique. McDavid still irked about his first ever playoff appearance. He felt he didn't play up to the level that his ridiculously high standard. I think you're going to see him just want to carry his team. So I'll say McDavid.
Yeah, I agree. And McDavid all the way. I mean, you see what Connor McDavid's like when he sets his mind to something and has a target. And that was to get to 100 points. And now it's to go off in the playoffs. And by the way, they still were good in the playoffs last year in the bubble. The Oilers didn't lose because of anything that Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl did. They had 14 points in that series. I don't understand the narrative and the criticism that came from it. You can't win when you have 860 goaltending. That's just the bottom line. And they were in the hole early with that start that Mike Smith had in game 1. And I think that McDavid in this case is going to be the playoff leading scorer after round 1 this time.
I will say this though, Ty, I won't be stunned if McKinnon, if Colorado gets by Vegas, if he leads the whole playoffs. Like McKinnon, you're right. Like McDavid's just kind of gone off, but I was looking at McKinnon's second half of the season.
Unreal.
Like it's
really
been
good.
really good.
Yeah.
It's just McDavid's been on another level.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, there you go. That is Buy or Sell, brought to you by Jock Market. Stay in the game, jockmkt.com, and that promo code, once again, DFO20, gets you a $20 deposit bonus.